Is this conservative practice schedule set forth by the front office or ownership and the head coaching staff here? Is this the right thing for these young players? Are these young players getting enough work? Let's get into this, guys. Hey, what's up, Cerebral NFL fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Hey, practice schedule. Practice. We're talking about practice. Let's be real, guys. We're all subject to kind of like how we're brought up, right? I played football mostly in the 90s, guys, so I came from a different generation than these young men that are playing football now. And I am subject to what I know, what was taught to me. And what was taught to me by my father was a very simple principle. And I still think it holds a lot of truth even in today's world. Nothing great comes from comfort. If you're too comfortable, you're not growing. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with being comfortable. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you're not growing if you're comfortable. And I think that's at the root of today's discussion, right? Is this idea that the front office, our ownership, the coaching staff, we could say the sports science department within the Philadelphia Eagles, they want that comfort, if you will, of going into the 2022 NFL season with relative health from their players. And to be fair, this is something that, like, everyone knows, right? Everyone knows that these organizations have done this for a long time. Even back when I was playing and watching football, that, these guys did this, like back in my day in the 90s. Your star players were not going to be exposed to injuries. It's just the way it is. You don't want those dudes exposed to injuries if you don't need to. But there's always a counterpoint to everything. And the counterpoint is this really a good thing for these younger gentlemen that are out there playing, these first, second, third year guys? Quarterback that is spending all offseason trying to get it together, and he's probably the least of my concerns in this, if I'm being honest. I think Jalen Hurts is the guy I trust the most out of everybody, but we have a star receiver coming in from Tennessee who's going to be coming into a new system, right? He just said he'd learned the playbook in a couple of weeks, but now it's a matter of building that timing. And that timing comes from 7-on-7, 11-on-11 drills. We have a second-year wide receiver that looks like definitely is going to be a star in this league. It looks like it's there with Devontae Smith. Another guy, building that timing, being able to utilize 7-on-7, 11-on-11 drills. Quez Watkins is a young guy, drafted in 2020. Ooh, boy, I'm going to read in between the lines of Q&A's show, what Quentin Michael said. I thought that was directed at the next guy I'm going to bring up, which is Jalen Reagor, where he said, hey, man, sometimes you do need to sacrifice some guys and expose them to potential injury for growth. That whole thing I said earlier about you don't grow in comfort. I mean, listen to what he said.
There's certain players on this team I'm looking at,
you're willing to risk
before. You're willing to risk.
It was clearly about Jalen Reagor, in my opinion. It seems like he was saying, Reagor needs these reps, man. Reagor's got, this is definitely probably the last stand for Reagor to produce on this roster right now. We do have a young core. Of course, we got those veteran O-linemen, guys. We know we got a veteran offensive line, pretty much. But with that said, there are elements to the offense that probably needs the reps. Even on defense, you look at a guy like James Bradbury. He's not a young dude. He's been in the league for a while and everything, of course. This is a new system with Gannon. I know that it's going to have principles and things that he does in coverage that, won't take him long to do it, but there's still chemistry and timing that has to be built between him and Darius Slay and Avonte Maddox and even this defensive line, the whole thing about, pairing your pass rush to your coverage. If either side of that is off, it won't matter. You know what I mean? Both sides got to play in conjunction with one another. So I do get the veteran guys, their take on this. But it's the modern NFL. It's the modern NFL, and things have changed. The CBA. The CBA has done a lot to limit what teams can do, to be honest. This isn't just unique to the Eagles. The CBA has limited how many padded practices you can have, right? It's limited the length of practices. It's also limited how many days off these guys get. It's not the same NFL from the 90s and the mid-2000s, guys. It's drastically different. Some of you guys that have been around and can vividly remember the 80s. I was born in the 80s, but I was a kid. The NFL is changing. I mean, this is a different landscape. It's just a completely different landscape. Let's call a spade here, guys. Ain't the same NFL. But in saying that, I love the fact that this community is on stuff. The Eagles, from what I understand that you guys pointed out to me now, the Eagles are actually spending the least amount of time during OTAs and minicamps on the field out of any other organization. So, I think it comes down to how valuable do you see independent drills, individual drills, over team drills, such as 7 on 7, 11 on 11. And then pretty much like how do you weigh in between film room versus on the field stuff, right? I think the Eagles think that it's more important during this phase with young guys to get them into the film and involved in the film as opposed to the field work. Kind of like what good is field work if you don't understand what you're looking at, kind of. I'll say that for each their own, man. I think you can make arguments in either direction here. I don't want to get into that, guys. We'll be on this for all. We'll be here all day doing this, and it's my anniversary, so I got to get off here pretty soon. With that said, the Eagles front office likes to be at the cutting edge of things. They like to do things that other organizations don't do. When other organizations are going left, Eagles are going right. They like to be at the cutting edge of things. In step this. It's going to be very popular with veteran players. We'll have to see, guys. I'm not going to say this won't be successful with young guys. We don't know. But there's certainly calls for concern. I get people's concern. All right, y'all. I appreciate you guys so much. If you like this kind of topic, if this is kind of your thing, I did make a video that's done quite well. Thank you guys so much. Shout you guys out. But I talked about the chemistry between A.J. Brown and kind of Jalen Hurts and why, yeah, it's something to kind of keep your eye on at the same time. Like, hey, man, it's too early for this stuff. What are we doing? Check that video out. It's right there, guys. All right, y'all. I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys on the next video.